Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Director of Marketing and Communications for the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and your Words of Wisdom podcast. Today I'm joined by two guests, so we'll start with you and then kick over. Introduce yourself for us.
Yes, I'm Ryan Stenger, Mortgage Market Leader for Freedom First Credit Union.
And I am Carie Kingery, and I am the Market Executive for the New River Valley for Freedom First Credit Union.
Welcome. So the very first question I ask everybody, and I'm going to ask that you each answer this separately, is what does success mean to you?
I mean, I think success to me means, for us at the credit union, the level of impact that we can have in the community, and what differences we can make as bankers. We're every day we go in and we're faced with problems and trying to find solutions out there to the needs of the community, and I kind of feel like that's really what we do in a nutshell.
I agree with what Ryan said. I mean, you could answer that in so many different ways, in your home life and, your family, and then, of course, work. But, at Freedom First, it's definitely, how are we helping other people to reach their goals and be successful in their financial planning and, what they want to do in their business. So, success there is that presence in the community and making a difference.
And I appreciate you point out it can mean so many different things. That's why I always ask that question first, because the mindset really shifts between what is personal success, what is professional success. And I think a lot of times there's so much overlap based on a lot of the answers I get is like, I want to be happy and I want to be happy doing what I do. So what role do you think, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a lot in this episode, which I don't like doing, but I'm going to do. What role do you think a credit union and a bank has in that happiness and that success aspect for your clients? How do you help them get there?
I think it's showing them the way and showing them the path. And I think a lot of that is going to come from education. A lot of what we do as quote unquote salespeople is give them, sort of the tools and information and let them drive what they want and need, show them the way to be successful and what's worked. And so I think that educational piece is a big component of what we do and who we are.
Yeah, I mean, people say you don't know what you don't know, right? So we have people come in often who they have struggles and they need help, but they really don't know what they need until they sit and talk with us, and we can educate them on, hey, we have this for you, or we can help you in this way.
I say that quote on this podcast a lot, so I love that you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So tell me a little bit about each of your journeys in getting to where you are, because look, I could be wrong, but I don't know many people that start off and then when they graduate high school say, I want to be this title for bank, because honestly, trying to keep track of titles at banks is really tough. Yeah. I feel like sometimes you grab words out of the air and you're like, that's what I am. Yeah. But how did that end up for each of you? Where'd you come from? How'd you get there?
I think you're right about that. I mean, many people wake up in the morning, it's like wake up from college or after college and say, hey, I want to be a mortgage banker. It kind of finds you. And that's kind of how my journey was. I graduated locally here from Radford University, and I had didn't know what I wanted to do, and went to a career fair of all things, and a hiring manager took a risk on me and started in mortgage, and realized that I really liked doing it. At first you get into this business and, the only other people that'll talk to you, like real estate agents, which is where you get a lot of your business from when you first start out in mortgage, are other real estate agents that don't have much business either. And then slowly what starts to happen is that your business grows, their business grows, and then it's hard to turn off. So I just think it's something that you've got to latch onto. For me, it was, starting with that, funny, we talked about education beforehand, doing that educational piece and explaining to people, hey, look, this is what you need to do in order to get in a home, for example, and qualify for a mortgage. And these are the steps that you need to take. And a lot of my earlier years in mortgage, I spent a lot of time doing educational classes and things like that. So, and it just kind of grew from there.
What about you, Carie?
My path was different. So I actually did not go to college until later in life. So when I was about to graduate high school, I was working at a daycare, and I used to take the deposits over to the bank right beside the daycare. And so I became friends with them. They started telling me, hey, you should work here. And I grew up in a different home life where education wasn't really what was pushed, right? It was you need to get a job and support yourself. And so that was my path. And so it was kind of funny. I called the bank every day for 2 weeks to see if they had any job openings. Yeah, I didn't know that was probably the most annoying thing I could have done. But anyway, I think they got fed up with me and said, God, give this girl a job. So
It worked.
It worked. So I started as a teller, and, I've worked probably in just about every area of the bank outside of mortgage, which is interesting. But I've done a little bit of everything throughout the 22 years that I've been there. But yeah, I didn't actually go back to school until I was 32 years old, which was not my intentions. I originally planned, let's take a year off and get myself, where I need to be as far as like a job, and be able to support my college. And I started getting promoted within the bank, and, they were investing in me there. And I was like, this just makes sense for me right now. So,
well, and education-wise, you also just got a master's, if I'm not correct?
I did. I just graduated from the graduate banking program for in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Swigsby, and it's a 3-year program. So yeah, so I've been blessed. A lot of education that has followed my degree. Once I went to Liberty University, and then I actually went to the VBA School of Bank Management as well, and then just finished up the program in Texas. So yeah, it was a little delayed, but it was good.
So tell me a little bit about that aspect of being a Freedom First employee. What does Freedom First go and do back for its employees? Because you mentioned, as you started growing, the education aspect became more important. Is that something that Freedom First helped with? Is that something that they connect with their employees on? What does that aspect look like?
Absolutely. So actually our chief banking officer, Sean Aguero, he actually attended the school that we went to in Texas. And I think he taught there afterwards as well, but very well connected to the program there, and saw the benefit for me to be able to attend that, which is how I got to do that. So it's a higher level banking program. It's, more operational on like the executive leadership level. So it was a really, really great program to go to. But Freedom First absolutely supports and encourages continued education and growth. Just stuff like this, like making sure that we're connected in the community, and they definitely provide that opportunity to us.
They definitely value that part, that educational piece, and we've got regular. I don't know what they're called now, but seminars that we have that are kind of a part of a thing that is an academy that you can go to and participate in and learn about other aspects of the credit union. And that helps, a teller, for example, get more information about, hey, that there's opportunities here for growth if you want it. I think that says a lot.
So for someone that's considering a career in this, or someone that is, out of school and going to the career fairs and looking at those things, what are those driving pieces that you think people should consider as they're exploring Freedom First and really the banking industry at large for a career?
Jeez. I think fit's got to be a big thing, and feeling comfortable with who you're interacting with and who you're talking to. In banking, there's lots of different flavors, right? And that's a good thing. Yeah. That's a good thing for consumers. But it's also a good thing for people looking for employment opportunities. And I would say, talk to a lot of different people. And go with and communicate and kind of investigate those opportunities that just kind of feel right.
Mm-hmm. So what is the hierarchy type system in the banking world? Because I'm not going to pretend like any industry makes sense. For example, Marissa here is the vice president of membership engagement. There's no one else working in membership engagement. So it's kind of like, who are you the vice president of? Same for me. I'm director of marketing and sales, but there's no one under me. There's none of that. So how does it work with banking? I guess really what I'm asking is, can you explain some of the titles and some of those things to me?
I don't know if I can. I think traditionally it used to be that, VP, which is what you kind of see before people's titles and names in banking a lot. It's kind of a banking thing. That used to be a title that was given to somebody after a period of time where they showed that there's a certain level of responsibility and competency, I think, experience. And it used to be that if you had that title, you could sign off on certain things, pay off certain things, right? And now I just feel like it's just become kind of an industry standard where you have that title. I don't know, Carie. Like maybe you could.
No, I think that's correct. I think it's kind of based on different levels of, what are you approving? That type of thing. Who's working underneath you? What level are, But like for us, for instance, he leads the mortgage team here in the New River Valley, and some of Roanoke, or just New River Valley?
Just New River Valley. And so, for example, my title is mortgage market leader. And that's just another way of saying I'm a sales manager, right? And I'm a producing manager. So I produce loans and also manage a team. But I'm a mortgage market leader.
And same for me, except I do commercial lending instead.
Right.
And
so within that, how much does your day-to-day end up being you're the one sitting down working with people to create the mortgages versus how much of it is I'm managing the other people and helping them find that? Because I'm going to compare it to an industry, at least I know some about, like real estate. Yeah. You are all working for a brokerage, but you're also really working for yourselves. How does that kind of
That would be
intertwine?
a really similar comparison. So if you were the head broker of a real estate company, a lot of those brokers are also still doing business on their own, but then also managing a team and kind of leading the way in terms of marketing, in terms of problem solving. And that's a lot of what I do. So if I'm not dealing with sort of my own production and my own loans, then I'm helping to support a team in their direction. So, and things that might come up in their day to day that are challenges. But we really are a team in every sense of the word. They're out there, doing their thing, and they're very good at what they do. And I'm just playing a supporting role and a coaching role to them, in helping them sort of succeed. So that's really what I do in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah. The majority of us are in a player coach role. So we're definitely producing and customer facing as well, which I love. I know Ryan does too. So it's great.
It helps keep you sharp. In that way, you can relate to the challenges that your staff might be going through. And it helps. And I think that as bankers, we still like that interaction with the client. I know that there's something that you get from that, being able to help somebody and see them through the finish line that's still energizing. And that's kind of what keeps me going, so.
It's great. I went back room for a couple years in my banking career, and it was good. I had some customer facing. I was processing files and construction lending and stuff, but I got burnt out fast. I wanted to be the person that was in front making sales and talking to people. But the good news is if that's not you, we do have those backroom positions as well. Yeah. So there's a good fit for everyone.
We need those people too.
Yeah, they're so important.
Very, very important.
And tell me a little bit about the hour structure and the work-life balance aspect, because I feel like so much of what we do as a society is built around what we see in movies. And so I feel like everything you see finance in any way, shape, or form is like, oh, I'm working 100 hours a week. I don't have time for family. I don't have time for anything.
Well, I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say that was part of the culture. And one of the things we're talking about success at the start of this, and it's kind of like, how are you, a kick butt dad, kick butt husband, and do all of these things 100%. And that's a challenge. I mean, it is. It just is. And you have to find the time to do the family stuff as well, or everything kind of breaks down, right? So, it's just kind of trying to figure out and carve out that time that are important, and you only have a limited amount of time, and trying to manage that to make sure that you prioritize those things. For me, it's a scheduling thing. I look at my day, and I schedule my time to my most valuable resource, right? And I just say, hey, like this, all personal stuff is on my calendar with my work stuff, because it's really all one pie,
Yes.
right? It's really all one pie. So that's something I kind of struggle with on a day-to-day basis, to be honest with you.
I feel like a lot of people that come on the podcast, that's the same.
Similar-
It's across
similar,
the board.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
one of the dangers of success itself is, success comes with a price. I think early on, someone made the comparison about Elon Musk. If we could all have Jeff Bezos money or Elon Musk money, we would. But they make different sacrifices, and not all of it is on their own shoulders. But so does that team aspect come into play a lot, where with the making the schedule and making that breakdown too easier, that you've got people that you can say, great, hey, I've got this coming up. I can rely on them to help me out.
Yeah, of course. But it takes a while to get there. Kind of, you're talking about Elon Musk. You don't just kind of hop into that role necessarily. And, time management too is kind of, we're talking about that pie and where you spend your time. It's also about values too. What do you value? And that's going to be different for everybody. For Elon Musk, that value was different, right? So that's definitely a personal choice. But yeah, it's easier with a team. Of course it is. And especially if you've got a team, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to rely on people that are really, really, really good employees. So yes, it does make it easier.
I'm glad you said the word value. So we're going to take a quick ad break, and then when we get back, I'm going to talk to you about the value of community and what you do. Freedom First has been serving the banking needs of people and businesses in the New River Valley and Roanoke Valley since 1956, and now reaches up into the Shenandoah Valley and Greater Lynchburg too. They have something for everyone, whether you're looking for simple, everyday banking, wealth management and investing, or even if you have credit challenges. Their team members are your neighbors, which means that decisions are local and that your money stays here to benefit the community we live in. Go see Freedom First at any time at one of their branches on South Main, at Price's Fork, or in Christiansburg to see why Freedom First is the place where people bank for good. For more information, go to freedomfirst.com. That's freedomfirst.com. Now, back to the episode. All right, we are back. So in talking about the value piece for community, Freedom First, your community bank, right? That's what's in there. And so tell me a little bit about that and what you do for the community, how you give back to the community, and some of the programs you have.
Or do you want me to take that one?
Yeah,
Ryan?
sure.
Okay. So Freedom First is obviously, you see us everywhere. We're very involved in the community and strive to really make an impact in ways that, are really needed across each market individually. Some of the things that we've done recently that have probably been seen, we've had our Play for Purpose program where we've partnered with Virginia Tech, and that has allowed us to donate to nonprofits across the NRV. And we've been very successful at that. I can't remember the exact number, but it was 50,000 and plus this year alone for the New River Valley. And what we did, we would choose a nonprofit and say, hey, for every touchdown that Virginia Tech makes at one of their home football games, we're going to donate $100 to you. And so with that, it's been a huge outreach in this area and been able to impact so many different areas as far as we have animals, we have the elderly, children. And so we make sure that we try to spread that across each one. We're constantly looking for opportunities to educate and help people, really understand what is needed to get started. Like Ryan was saying, hey, I'm a first time home buyer. What do I need to do to get started, to be ready when the time comes? So we have programs that we can educate people. We have our FEC, which is our financial education center. And so that's another way for us to be able to really sit down and help people through like difficult times. We have responsible rides, just a lot of different areas that we focus on making sure that we're donating and contributing to the community.
And that program, specifically sports related, it's not just football, right? It's also, is it baseball and basketball?
Yeah, we did it for baseball and basketball, and we just wrapped that up. It's tweaking a little bit this year. It's going to be a little different. So I think they'll be announcing that soon of what that's going to look like. But we've had 2 years where we partnered with Virginia Tech, and it was great. We had everyone would come in and we would celebrate, once a month, and we would have the nonprofits come in and present the check to them as well as the players. So we teamed up with Triumph NIL, and they would have the players come in and take pictures. And so we would have football players, basketball players, a little bit of everything that would come in and visit. So it was really nice.
Yeah. I mostly asked, I'm not from here. I'm not like a big Hokie or anything. Please don't yell at me, people. But when I heard 50,000 in the first downs, I was like, man, I didn't realize Virginia Tech got that many first downs. I feel like there should have been some more scores.
We'll convert you over, Alan. We'll convert you.
So bringing the community aspect here, Freedom First is very, very involved with the chamber. I mean, y'all sponsor a lot of stuff, do a lot of stuff. What is part of the drive for that? Is it one, I don't want anyone to think that everything is completely selfless. We know you have to get some kind of return. So when you're looking at those aspects, how are you weighing, what you're doing at the chamber, what you're doing with other organizations, to make it worthwhile for you, both on the community building side, but also like you got to make money side?
We were blessed that when I first came on, there was already a relationship with the chamber, but it really wasn't actively moving, right? And so I came, and Deanna Dickerson came, who's on the board with the chamber as well. And she is very active in the chamber. And I had been very active in the chamber at my past banks. So I saw the benefit in that, because when I really stepped into commercial lending back in 2016, my goal, I was like, I got to network. I got to get out there. Where do I start? And so the first thing I did was sign up to be an ambassador. And, from there, I joined the leadership and had the leadership program. And so I preach to people all the time that the relationship with the chamber is so valuable to you and your networking. It's just wonderful. So as soon as we came on board, which was around the same time, Deanna and I, we really started, accessing everything possible and signing up for anything that we can. And it's made a huge difference for the market and getting Freedom First name out there, because Freedom First was here, we've been here for a long time, but we had no commercial platform in the New River Valley. And that's what I was brought over to do. And so it was important to make, people aware that, hey, we're here and we can help you on the commercial side as well. And that was the best way to do it.
The chamber, from my observation, is a really efficient way for us to be able to spread our message.
Yes.
And it allows for opportunities for connecting people together. And finding those people that need the products that we have. And so it makes sense.
I like the spreading the message part, because I do feel like sometimes there's that struggle that everyone sees return on investment as a dollar to dollar kind of situation. And it's not always going to be that cut and dry. Sometimes, especially with mortgages, you may meet someone today that you're not going to sign a mortgage with them for 3 to 4 years. So when you're looking at that side of things, and I don't want to bring up the current market, but I'm going to bring up the current market. How do you interact with people in that level too? Because I feel like where we're at right now is obviously drastically different than we were in 2020.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And where we're going in 5 years may be drastically different too.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I stopped predicting what's going to happen a long time ago. And I've been in mortgage now for 18 years. But you talked about those conversations and those interactions that happen with people, and they may not buy until much further down the road. There's a research out there that says that by the time somebody gets the idea that they want to purchase a house in their head, it still takes them a year before they actually take any action on that item. So that's true always, across the board. And, but it's one of those things where you cast a wide net And you pull those people in that reach out to you, and are attracted to you. So, I mean, for me, it's the wider the net can get, the better opportunity we have of getting that business. As far as where the market's heading, good gosh, I don't know. We've been really fortunate, and a lot of the credit goes to where we work. But we've been pretty successful even in what it would be in mortgage terms, a downturn. There's the less houses, which means there's less mortgages to actually make. Interest rates are higher, and yet our production numbers, increased over the last year. And that is, I think, because of the support that the credit union has given us in terms of products and the things that we can do, as a community lender.
So looking at the commercial side, what is it about? Because I feel like as a transplant, there's so much that goes on in the New River Valley, specifically in the commercial sector, that people don't realize. What do you think makes this such a nice draw for people to work, to play, to do all the pieces? And what do you think Freedom First, or why do you think Freedom First saw that when you were coming on board and wanted to bring in more of that commercial side?
I mean, commercial lending is very important for really any financial institution. But I think the biggest piece as far as like community goes is it's providing the resources to grow the community, right? So the businesses need funds and they need guidance, and and we're here to support that. So it gives another avenue to be able to say, hey, we can service you in every way possible, not just on the personal side, which allows us the opportunity to win full relationships and really grow the business that way.
Cool. This is one of my favorite questions, but it's also one that I think takes the most time. What is a really big miscommunication, a misunderstanding you think about your industry? I think a lot of people see, for example, bankers as the Scrooge McDuck. You're jumping into a pile of money and all of those things. I also think, talking about rates, people are like, well, can't you change that? And surprise, you can't. So do you have anything that you get a lot or you see a lot that you just want people to have that education and understanding that it's not you, it's not the industry, it's not any of those things. It's just kind of knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, I think one misconception is that everybody's, bankers are all driving Mercedes Benz and, and that's just not the case. It takes you can achieve that. I mean, but it's a lot of hard work. I mean, banking is, it can be a grind, to be honest. I mean, you gotta enjoy that. And there's some parts of your day to day that are uncomfortable too. Money's an emotional thing, right? And so because of that, it's you've got to be good at managing people's emotions, and it's definitely a challenging job, but that's also what makes it what can make it rewarding.
I think in sales positions too, one of the misconceptions, especially once you have more flexible position, is that we have the best job in the world. We get to do whatever we want, whenever we want it. And we all wish that. But Freedom First is really great about work-life balance. However, you still work all the time. When you're in a sales position, you have to be available when that person calls, because if not, they're going to move on to the next person.
I think one major misconception that's still out there, for at least in the mortgage side, is that people just think you make this, big base salary, and that's not the case. Majority of mortgage loan originators are largely commission paid, and so you're hitting on it. I think is that this sort of time thing, well, yeah, I mean, my staff can go and take a hour and a half lunch break, but they're probably answering the phone while their kids playing a soccer game.
That's exactly right.
And so, it's just a different position and a different way of looking at it. And so there's this impression to the outside world as they're doing their 9 to 5 that, wait a second, like, how are you able to do that? And it's because of the sacrifices that they're making on a Saturday morning.
That's right. And we're typing up credit memos at 9 p.m. at night, or I was taking text messages on my cruise this year because I bought the Wi-Fi package, so anybody who had an iPhone could get through to me. So I had to respond.
I made that mistake the last cruise we went on too. I was like, I'm not going to be involved with anybody, but this will get me social media. And then I was like, no, wait, hold on. So as we're kind of heading into the last pieces of this episode, I guess I want to ask, like, what advice do you have for anyone who's potentially looking at this as a career? And then also, what advice do you have to potential consumers out there looking for the mortgage side, looking for the commercial side, that will help them be more prepared, but also, like, when they come in to meet with you, set them up for success?
I mean, in terms of, like, on the consumer side, like, the advice that I always give homeowners or future homeowners or aspiring homeowners is to connect with a local lender, number one, and connect and go with a person that you feel comfortable with, or a bank or a credit union that you feel comfortable with, because you can get a lot more value out of working with somebody face to face than you can just clicking online someplace. And it's there's also an accountability factor that goes to working with somebody that's local. I work with somebody, I could bump into them, or Carie could bump into them at the grocery store. They're working with a lender in New Jersey on a mortgage. How easy is it for you to just disappear? Things don't go well, and there's things that can come up in a financial transaction like a mortgage or a commercial loan. So that's my advice that I give a consumer in terms of, like, an aspiring, somebody that wants to get into banking. I would say learn as much as you can about the industry and about the different avenues and aspects and opportunities within banking, because there really is a bunch of different paths that are for everybody. You feel that logical brain, those really, really detailed analytical people that can be in processing and underwriting and really, really good at and love looking at numbers and like to solve a puzzle. And then there's people like Carie and I that like to interact with people and solve problems and stuff like that. So learn as much as you can about the industry, because there's a lot of different opportunities.
It's a great career. I mean, it truly is. If you're interested in it, I encourage people all the time to go into banking, all the time. I go into schools when I'm doing junior achievement or, teach children to save. And I'm constantly telling them, like, what a great path it was for me personally. And I know a lot of other people who would agree with that. If you have the personality to get out and sell, like, we can teach you all the other aspects that you need to know. So it's definitely a great path. They'll enjoy it. They'll enjoy the work-life balance. They'll enjoy the education piece that comes along with it. There's just so many pieces of it that are great. As far as the commercial side goes, I think we all know there's ebbs and flows, and right now, it's a difficult time for any lender or bank in general. But just be patient, because it's not going to be like this forever. You can see the history that we've gone through this before. I've gone through this before. I wasn't in commercial lending at the time, but I've gone through this downturn in the economy before, and it will get better. And so just be preparing and thinking and ready to go when the time comes.
Where can everyone find more information about Freedom First? I know y'all have a ton of locations. So what's the best way for people to, like, get in touch with someone there, whether it's wanting to open an account or anything like that?
We have a couple different ways to access us. Obviously, we have branches across, all of our markets, but we also can be reached online if they choose that they want to go on and open an account that way or reach out that way. And then, of course, we have our individual phone numbers too. They can reach out to us directly. I I text, I call, whatever you need, we will make it work. Our website is freedomfirst.com, so very easy to access that one. And then if you go on that page, you're going to have different areas where you can see our contact information as well.
Well, I have to thank both of you for being here and talking with me today. It's weird. I'm coming up on 1 year being here at the Chamber. My very first day of work was the ribbon cutting and business after hours at Freedom First Blacksburg location. So that was literally day one. It was like, here's a ribbon cutting, here's a business after hours.
Oh, good.
But thank you so much, both of you, for being here and talking with me.
Yes, thank you, Alan, and everything you've done. You're doing awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, listeners, for checking in. If you want more information, go to all the places they told you. In the meantime, go out, connect, engage, and prosper.